Get started. Welcome everybody to the Grandparent Huddle. Is this about right? Yeah. All you here. Okay. If you're here for the first time, I want to give you a special welcome. Really glad you're here. And we'd like to know if you are here for the first time and you came because you got an email from Mark Lyle for the over 55 bunch. He's trying to figure out how effective his emails are. Would you raise your hand if you're here? Oh, there you go. All right. Is one here? No? Is that what we need? Okay, great. All right, the way we do the Grandparent Huddle is usually we start with my Karen. She will give kind of a grandparent hack on what she is doing with our grandkids, and if it's useful, then it's really good. But this is for a lot of you, your favorite part of the huddle. So without further ado, here's Karen.
They put the mic right here so I can't keep backing up. So here we are. Wow, this is great. This has got to be the most people we've had. So I see some new tables are full. So welcome to all of you. Special welcome to you if you're new. Of course, it's February, so today I wanted to talk about connection and what it looks like to make connections. Am I too close, too far? We good? We good with that? Okay. To make connections with our grandchildren. Of course, to make a connection requires time, it requires knowing, and it requires sometimes presence. And I'm going to talk to you who have grandchildren out of state or out of the area, so please keep listening. So I want to talk about how we can show our children three things. They are loved, they are special, and they are not alone. And this is going to be super quick, but they are loved. In order to know that you're loved, I think somebody needs to know you, right? So you need to kind of study them, and we can only do that with time and information, right? So make sure that you're spending time, even if it's from a distance online, asking mom and dad to send pictures, what are they doing these days, just making sure you know what and who they are, and then how to build on that when you have the opportunity to talk to them. You are special. Of course, we all want to feel special, and we all want to be seen. And that would be using that information that you got from the parents on whether they're in sports or how they're doing in school or just different little things. I like to say be curious. Be curious about what makes them tick, but don't put like your longings on them. Just be curious and accept who those littles are. And sometimes that takes patience, but you just want them to know they're special just the way they are, the way God designed them. And finally, they're not alone. And of course, if we do all these first top things, then we're showing them they're not alone. But I also wanted to mention how important it is to reach out and ask if there's anything we can pray for them, and just including in our conversation how God loves them and God sees them as well as us. And so since it's Valentine's, I wanted to show you my hacks. This year, I've kind of fallen in love with making cards at CVS. And that little CVS right by me on Darrell Road will make a card. It's like, I don't know, $4, you can get a coupon. But you can just add a photo to it. So what I'm doing this year, you'll just make sure they don't fall. I'm picking a picture with each grandchild in a special way. So this is Connor. We went on a little trip with him. So in the card, I'm going to say, you know, remembering the trip we went on, it was so much fun to be with you, and, you know, something that maybe came out of the trip or a way that I love him individually. These are our three littles. I'm just gonna do, you know, I love you and hearts and kisses because they're 4, 2, and new, and they don't care. This one is Liam. He's our oldest. He's 17, and this was something he did. So he was in the musical at CBCA, and Joe and I were there. And so again, sending a card, including what strengths I saw, evidence during that time. And again, taking pictures is really good. Having this as I value you, and so here's a picture that reminds you that you are valued. And then our middle two, I did a collage because we have a lot of different little things. So I just made these. It probably took 5 minutes on CVS. It was done in an hour, so you're not too late. However, so you can send those right out of town. But a friend of one of my daughters said there's an app called Ink, I-N-K. Now I didn't do a deep dive. I don't know what their beliefs are, but I know they'll make cards for you with pictures just like this, and they'll mail them. And it's about $4. So that's another way if you don't want to take the time to drive to CVS and do all that. Okay, finally, don't forget to go out, you all, and if there's somebody special at your table that might not have someone to go out with, please reach out and give them a card or a hug, okay? Thank you.
She hates it so much. It's a big ask, and I've heard do that, but I'm glad she does it. And she's great at that. The Grandparent Huddle, we started this because we want to try to lean into what is probably our last great role as people. Do we get to be grandparents? I figure by the time I'm a great grandparent, that'll be hard for me to make as much an impact. I didn't know either of my grandfathers. I barely knew my one grandmother, so I am really thankful for this opportunity to be a grandfather. Now, we started Huddle, last year, my theme, my idea was to help us become a prepared grandparent, to answer questions, a praying grandparent, and then connected grandparent, which is why you're around tables that want you to connect with other grandparents, because you can learn a lot from each other. Like being a parent, this is our one and only chance to be a grandparent. I never realized until I became a parent that I was just spitballing it. I always thought my parents knew a lot more than they did. I just remember when Karen and I would make a decision with one of our kids, sometimes they would walk out of the room and we'd look at each other and just go, oh, you gave that a rep, you know, what's it? But you only have one chance, so it's good to kind of learn from each other. So that's why you're at tables. You're going to have a card there that will help you pray for your grandkids. Now, this year's theme, kind of that will carry us through, are what we're calling generational values. And I started thinking about that because when I said it from the pulpit before, that we have a funny value for our family that we started when my kids were little. We just said coffees take stairs. And my idea for them was that the easy way is not always the best way. So it became kind of a joke among us, and something that they say, you know, Dad, we don't get on escalators, we take stairs, or that kind of thing. So I started thinking, what are the real values that I want my grandkids to have, that I want my kids to have. Last month, we talked about where we want our kids to know that God's got them on a shadow mission all the time. Like that comes from the book of Esther, where Esther became the queen of Persia, didn't know why, and then Mordecai, her uncle, said at one point, who knows but for such a time as this, that you have been placed in this position right now. So one of the things I want to start talking to my grandkids about, just say, God always has something for you to look for and to do. It's you think you're going to college for one reason, but God's got you there for His own purposes, so that when they come home from college, I can ask them, hey, did you go on a shadow mission? Do you know of anything? So just get it in your heads. Today's characteristic that or value that we want to talk about is courage. And what I wanted to do with my kids and my grandkids is to make sure that they knew courage is a muscle. That's it. Courage is a muscle that coffees work on, that we're always aware of. Because courage doesn't happen like all at once. It's little things and little things and little things. And then if you're called upon to have a lot of courage, you have to develop that muscle to a bigger degree. And I wanted to get it in their heads, and I'll explain that more in just a minute. And I'm getting this from the book of Daniel. Like if I say Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the immediate thought is the fiery furnace. And I think it's chapter 3, where it is a time that they have so much courage that they're willing to say, I will stand. I had somebody in my office the other day, he was wondering whether he was willing to pay a price for Jesus, or he said, I don't think that I'd be willing to die. And I was going, well, you don't really know that until the time comes. You can't stand on the sidelines and say, if I'm ever put in that position, but I will tell you, you can prepare because you can become more and more courageous as you go along. If I talk about Daniel, most people think of Daniel and the lion's den in Daniel chapter 6. That was a time it was do or die for his faith. But in chapter 1 is when we're introduced to Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And in chapter 1, what happens is they are deported. And a lot of people, it's hard to get in their head what really happened to them. This is at the very end of Judah as a nation. Babylon has come to wipe them out. It's the last king, Jehoiakim, of Judah's reign. They lay siege to Jerusalem, which means they're starving them out. And then they end up breaking down the walls. They build a siege ramp up. They slaughter people. And what happens is that the cream of the crop, this is Babylon's kind of MO, they would get the cream of the crop when they were very young, when they were like 15, 16, 17. They would bring them to Babylon. They would make them into good Babylonians. So then those people would then be transferred back to the country to rule their original country as Babylonians. That was their intent. They would get them young enough so that they could kind of completely get them assimilated into the culture. So Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were probably 14, 15, 16 years old. Their families had been slaughtered, maybe in front of them. No way their parents were alive at that time. They get transferred to Babylon. They find themselves not only surviving the slaughter, but being put in a very prestigious position where they're going to be educated and have advantages they never had in Israel. It's not unlike a kid going to college for the first time. And so they get there, and the first decision they have to make is whether they will eat the food that they were never allowed to have. Like if you were a person that grew up and you could never have bacon, and then you were put in a position where everybody you know has been slaughtered, and you're in this new culture, and they're saying, we eat bacon here, would you like some bacon? And that's what was happening with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel. They decided, which is amazing, that they decided, no, we want to be fed just the vegetables and water so we don't violate the dietary commands of our God. But that wasn't a big risk to them. They gave a 10-day, they said, just test this for 10 days. They didn't have to say, you either eat this stuff or you die. That wasn't the call right there. Right then it was a small thing of courage that they had to do. Then in chapter 3, they get the fiery furnace. In chapter 6, when Daniel is like 70 years, well, he's probably like 80 years old when he's thrown in the lion's den, maybe 70. So he had a whole lifetime of building up courage. So that's the premise of when I say to my grandkids, courage is like a muscle, and you're going to build up that muscle, because what I want them to get in their heads is that at some point in your life, you're going to have to show tremendous courage if you're going to follow Jesus. Don't know when that's going to be, but you are being prepared for it all the time. Now, this is the thing that was my big epiphany, is that, and this happened actually, CCC went to the state semifinals in football for the first time, right? If they won this game, they were going to go to the finals, which said the state finals. It came right down to the wire. I think they were done by 1 point. And then a field goal attempt with virtually no time left to win the game. Okay. Field goal kicker goes to this church. Is actually Pete McQuillan's grandson. And he kicked it, he missed it. Okay, devastating. And I have an idea of what that's like because I've missed super important free throws in my life in basketball that could have won the game, lost the game. But to go to the state finals, but the thing that struck me is that to put yourself in that position takes a tremendous amount of courage. And I wanted to tell Luke, you have courage. Anybody who plays sports, because it's one of the only places where you can take a test in school, and no one but you and maybe your parents will know what you got in that test. When you play sports, there's a scoreboard up on the wall that will show whether you won or lost, whether you succeeded or failed. It takes courage to play sports. Karen had that picture of Liam being in the musical. It takes great courage to be in a musical. I would never do that. Right? I would rather try sports, but any sport probably, but it takes courage to be in a musical. It takes courage to start another school. I went to 9 schools in 12 years when I was going through elementary, middle school, high school. Every time I went to a school, if somebody had been telling me, if I had known my grandparents, they had been saying, listen, Joe, every time you go to school, it takes courage. God is building that courage muscle in you. I might have done better when I went to South Florida if they said, listen, you're going to college, God's been preparing you, He's been building your muscle of courage to stand for Him. Go, flex that muscle now, right? So that's my big thing. So now with my grandkids, I've been looking at like my JP, who was 10, he just did a project that like those two, when they have school projects, they always go to Karen and they say, Gigi, I have a project, and Karen's like, we'll do the project. So Karen did a wonderful job on this project. She got it right. She's very proud of it. But when you have a project, that takes courage to stand in front of a class and say, this is my project that my grandma did for me. But what I want you to do around your table is start to think about different ways, small ways and medium ways and bigger ways, where your grandkids have shown courage and how you might be the one that starts to tell them. In fact, the word encourage means to instill courage in someone. So what you're going to be doing when you're talking to your grandkids and saying, listen, I want you to know, I've been noticing this, and we in our family, we believe courage is a muscle. And God is building that muscle in you every day. This is what I've seen in you, and I want to just tell you. I'm going to be asking you, and I'm going to be pointing out when God is doing these courageous, building this particular thing in you, because God is going to call you to be courageous at some point. So, list out some of the little ways that your grandkids are being courageous. And that can be anything like riding a bike takes courage. Going down a hill on a sled takes courage. I started to just think through all the things. And I remember wanting my kids to not be afraid of things. Like next month it's going to be adventure. And I'm having my daughter Becca and Holly that came here with Sarah Coons come in here, and I'm going to talk to them about how they have taken what their parents instilled in them when it comes to adventure and trying to put it to their kids. But I remember talking to my kids, wanting them to be courageous, but I didn't connect. That was a muscle that I was trying to develop in them. Sorry. So go ahead and spend some time around your table, and then I will come back at the end and answer any questions. We'll finish up that. Thanks. It seems like there was a good discussion around. Anybody have some good ideas on how to communicate that to the courage idea to your grandkids? I know the discussion around the table wasn't as good as I I will take, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, to model it in your life and encourage your kids to model it in their life for the grandkids. I will let you know too, I was thinking that there are some times, at least as a dad, and I'm sure it'll be with my grandkids, that there are times that you want to try to help them with courage, and it could not go as well as you'd hope. I remember with my son, when he was about 8, we went up to Vermont in the summer, and there was an alpine slide that went straight down like this. And I told him, Jerry, don't even touch the brake. There's no way you can fall out of that thing. Just go. And I got to the bottom and looked up in time to see him just catapulting out. I came down all speeded up, and I was like, sorry, man, I got that. So, those things happen. It is amazing, though. It's been amazing to me to kind of think through all the different things that take courage with little kids. And they will learn either to be afraid or to be courageous. And part of it is just to keep encouraging them. I want to be courageous. When I'm called upon to be courageous, I want my kids to be courageous. I want my grandkids to be courageous. So that's our big value for this week. You have prayer cards around on your table that you can use to be praying for your kids. We have a couple of things to be praying for them each week for the next 4 weeks until the next time together, because for me, I need prompts, otherwise I pray the same thing for every grandkid every time I pray. So, and our next huddle is March 8th. Okay, March 8th, same time, same bat time, same bat channel. Okay?